Welcome to this edition of CIBER Focus, your source for international business news. I'm Taylor, and with me today is Philomina Brittain, Managing Director and Majority Shareholder for Go Green Limited. Philominas is on campus today to talk about her background in the sustainable organic agricultural sector. Philomina, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So, you have an extensive background working in the sustainable and organic sector, in particular working with fertilizers and pesticides. Can you talk a little bit about your interest in how this sector developed?
Okay. It all started when I was in England, and at that time I was working with LARAC, which is the London Recycling Unit, and I was also working with Yorkshire Water, and these places involved waste management. And what we were doing at that time was composting these wastes, and we were using the compost for flowers and for a lot of trees in the city of London. Now, having seen that and knowing that we have a lot of organic waste in Ghana, I decided, why not do the same thing in Ghana? Also, at that time, Europe and England were kicking against the use of peat. And so they were looking for alternative to peat. They saw that the best one was coconut husk fiber. So they were trying to get some from India. And that also, we have a lot of that in Ghana. So I decided to pack my bags and go back home. And this is how the whole thing developed. And being there and starting the business, I got very passionate about it, simply because composting is very easy for the ordinary farmer to do. Yes, chemical fertilizers are important, but they cannot afford it. It is very easy for them to use the organic matter in their own farms to improve their yield and to improve their economic position. Also, in the pesticide section of it, in Ghana, we have a lot of neem trees. Everybody sits under neem trees. And it's the berry of this neem tree that I make an oil from it, and we use it for the pest control for the farmers. You see, a farmer needs fertilizer and needs something to control the bugs. So if I can find these two for them, where they don't have to buy or import very expensive commodidities, then definitely I'll be passionate about it, because it is right with them in Ghana. It doesn't cost too much to use that in your farm. So that is why I get very passionate about what I do.
Oh, well, it's very obvious that you're passionate about this, and yes. I'm sure you are an inspiration to all the farmers that you're even helping in Ghana now.
Yes, definitely.
A very incredible thing. And you have a very technical and scientific background, as you were just talking about the peat and different pressings of the oil. What led you to the business world then, after you kind of started talking with the Ghanaian farmers? How did you get into the business world? What was that start like?
You see, after you are talking about food. When you talk about agriculture, you are talking about food. And you are talking about food, and it is about life. So you have to bring your science background into the business, because you understand how food is grown, how pests can attack plants, which is a bit scientific. If you translate it into business, it is really very interesting. And doing that, yes, you have problems on the way, but the scientific background has really helped me to work with these farmers, because I bring it very low. I try and make it very easy for them to understand exactly how plants work, exactly how plants absorb nutrients from the soil, how pesticides affect their plants. You have, as we go on, we will discuss about pest control. And you see, there are banned substances which we get in Ghana, where people use to store something like their cowpeas, and they eat it and some of them die. So this background that I have about science really helps in uh, working with these farmers.
Okay. So then how did you start your company? I mean, it's obviously growing. You have over 20 years of experience. How did that company start? I mean, with financial backgrounds and things like that, how did you get it to start in Ghana?
Okay. First of all, we were talking about the cocoa peat, that is the coconut husk fiber. And it was so funny because if you know what a coconut looks like, it's very tough. And we have to find machines to grind this to make it available for the soil, for the farmers to use. So it was a challenge finding machines to grind this coconut husk fiber. And again, I was lucky because my husband is an engineer, so it was through him that I was able to get the machines to bring to Ghana to start grinding the coconut husk fiber. Starting with the compost, it was a new concept in Ghana. And starting with it, you know, in here, if you want to start any business, it's easy to go and register. In Ghana, the bureaucracy for registration is another thing. When you finish registration, my business, I can't go to, let's say, to a recruitment agency and say, can you get people who know how to compost so I can employ? It didn't happen to me. So I had to find people to start the business. I had to find people to train to compost. And composting was a new idea. People just thinking, especially my workers were thinking, why is this woman collecting, because we have cow dung, we have chicken litter, these things smell. And they did not understand why I was collecting all this garbage and trying to do something with it. So it's starting the business, I had to go through training these workers to understand what I was doing. So it was a gradual process, but at the end of the day, it did take off. Coming to the pest control, again, when you have something like the neem tree all over the place, you see it every time, but you don't think it can work. So trying to bring the pest control to the farmers and also to my workers to try and explain to them that yes, the neem seed work, and yes, when you make the oil from it, it will help to solve your pest problems. It was gradual, but we were able to start the business.
Well, that sounds like a very great success story. And now, I mean, what type of products what's in the works now? What kind of projects are you working on? What do you see in the future with your business?
Right now, I have 3 sections that I'm working on. I'm working on the compost, I'm working on the neem oil, and I'm working on the landscape. Now let me take you to the compost, start the compost. In the composting section, I'm working with 3 different categories of farmers. I'm working with the peasant farmers that form about 75% of the farmers. When I talk about peasant farmers, 1 acre, 2 acre most. But you see, they give us the food in Ghana. So I work with them. Most of that section is training. People ask me, why do you train people what you sell? Because then it doesn't make sense. But what happens is if you train, I don't advertise a lot, but by training them on what I do, I'm introducing my product to them indirectly. So I go to their farms, I show them how to use the organic matter they have on their farm to do their own compost, and that will help them to improve their yield. Also, in the same way, the neem oil neem tree in their house, I show them how to extract the neem oil and, and use it for their pest control. This is the categories that I work with. The second category is those who are exporting organic fruits and vegetables. You see, them, they have no choice. They have to buy, because mine is a natural way of farming. So they come and buy the compost, and they also buy the neem oil for the pest control. The third group of farmers are the group who use a lot of chemicals, but they have seen that as they use the chemicals, they are depleting their soils. So they need the organic matter to improve their soils. So they come to buy the compost. So that is the compost section. The second section is the neem oil section. Obviously, I'm selling to the farmers, but not only the farmers dealing with plants. I also sell the neem oil to the people dealing with animals, veterinary people, because the neem oil is antibacterial and antifungal, and that is used for ectoparasite. That means, you see, let's say you have a cow, you have all sorts of parasite on its skin. The people doing organic meat, they are not supposed to use all these chemicals on them. And then also, we use the neem oil for pets, like dogs, like cats. If you use that, they don't have all the ticks and things on them. So I sell to that group of people. I also sell to people who are making insect repellents, especially mosquito repellent, because if you put a neem oil on yourself, mosquitoes don't bite you. So I sell to them they buy in bulk and they use it to make mosquito repellent. Again, people who are using creams for acne, because it helps. People use it for clearing their faces. So I sell to people doing cosmetics. So the neem oil it started like for the farmers, but I have branched off, not me making anything, but the people buy it they buy the neem oil to use them in their product. The third thing I do is the landscape. Because a plant doesn't matter. Whether if you see a plant, it can be a flower, it can be a vegetable, it can be a fruit tree. You treat them the same way. So with my background in England for flowers, people started asking me about flowers. So I have a nursery where I work with big property developers. They are big property developers in Ghana, where when they finish the development, I go in, I do the grassing, and I do the flowers. So these are my three products that I work with.
Wow, that's very, very inspiring in the fact that you have one product with so many different functions. I mean, that's very entrepreneurial of you. And I'm sure everyone can appreciate the fact that, I mean, word of mouth and actually getting to know the local culture, that's hugely popular today in management practices and in doing studies of worldwide. And so that's just phenomenal. And I have another question, kind of switching tracks here. Do you have any current advice for our audience out there, current business students and recent graduates?
What I would tell the graduates is, you see, when you finish school, when you finish here, most of you will work with other people, other businesses first, before they decide, okay, I want to go and do my own business. For the other businesses, as soon as you start, make sure that you are doing it, what you have learned now, you are using it and doing it as if it was your own business, because that is the only way you can learn. You are using that your first business opportunity as like a scapegoat. It's your way of a stepping stone. So take the advantage and try and be the best using all the knowledge that you have. Then after all this, if you want to branch and do your own business, please do something that you are passionate about. There are a lot of businesses out there. People are saying, oh, this can give you a lot of money. This is better because you can make millions. But you see, if you are not passionate, you are not interested in it, you start down the line, you get frustrated. So whatever you want to do, make sure you are passionate about it. This is the two things I would tell.
That's a great experience and advice to know, because I mean, in the studies you can see that everyone's changing jobs now numerously times more than they used to, say in the 50s or 40s and things like that. So to really own that job as if it's like your first job, the job that you're going to keep for a while, it's really good advice to kind of live in that present and really try and grow
with it
in that one job. So thank you for that advice. Well, this concludes this edition of CIBER Focus. Thank you, Philomina, for coming in today, and thanks to the Kelley Graduate Global Business and Social Enterprise Program for sponsoring Philomina on campus today. If you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, please contact CIBER@indiana.edu.